What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Talk of the Tundra, a proud partner of the Eurostep Podcast Network and a proud member of the Blue Wire family. I am your host, Numac, and joining me today to talk about a short week football game Packers play on Thursday this week is Jordan Tresky. Jordan, how you doing, buddy?
Hello, doing well. Packers play Thursday. Thursday.
Thursday does not have the
Thursday.
same ring.
Thursday.
Does not have the same ring to it as Sunday. Yeah, matchup against the Tennessee Titans this week. The 6-3 Tennessee Titans at Lambeau Field. Back-to-back home games should be nice to the Packers having to not travel on a short week like that. But before we get into all that, we've got some honors to hand out. Some cheeses per se. Big week for the cheeses coming off of the 31-28 overtime win over the Dallas Cowboys. And before we even get to the cheeses, I just want to make sure you all are aware that there is real footage out there of Skip Bayless yelling into his phone about the Dallas Cowboys. I'm not one to promote anything Skip Bayless, but I like seeing his meltdowns, and they're very funny. And quick reminder for all of you getting mad at Skip Bayless, he follows nobody on Twitter. He follows nobody on Twitter, and he just yells into the void. So anytime you want to engage with him, just don't. Just laugh at his meltdowns.
What does that look like?
It's
It's his tweets.
I'd imagine
It's just his
it's
tweets,
just
right?
his tweets or like suggested tweets that he should like engage with. Like for the being the biggest hater in the world of LeBron James, you think he'd follow Bron and have like tweet alerts on for him? Nope, he doesn't follow anybody. But then conversely, there's a Shannon Sharp video out there of him pouring some of his, I think his own brandy or his own cognac, roasting Jerry Jones's Cowboys and Skip Bayless, and that's just great content for all of us Cowboy haters out there. So just go check that out if you want a little laugh. But getting into the cheese board, lots of names on the cheese board this week, and we absolutely love to see it. Kicking it off this week is Christian Watson. Obviously, given his standout game and his coming out party per se. 4 catches, 107 yards, 3 touchdowns. He earns himself 2 cheeses. Next on the list, Aaron Jones also had a pretty standout game. 24 carries, 138 yards for a rushing touchdown, and then he had 2 catches for 18 yards through the air, quote unquote. I think one of those was like a touch pass, but regardless, another great day for Aaron Jones. Just
Extra credit for the touchdown celebration.
that's right. That's right. Um, so 2 for Aaron Jones, his second 2 cheeser of the year. I think his first one was against the Bears.
Bears.
So
Definitely Bears.
doing well that way. Another 2 cheeses. By the way, these are pepper jacks. Pepper jacks for them. I forgot to mention that. 1 being Munster, 2 being pepper jacks, 3 being the sharp cheddars. All 3 of these players became so close to getting that sharp cheddar. So close. I think we're gonna hang one out this year. I really do believe it. The third and final um, piece of pepper jack goes to Rudy Ford. 2 interceptions plus just some nice hustle tackling. And if anytime you get 2 interceptions to swing the game like his did, you absolutely earn yourself a nice spicy soft cheese like a pepper jack. Moving down to the slices of Munster, putting on maybe a nice piece of toasted up sourdough, some ham, maybe little thinly sliced turkey. First one, bouncing back from his stinky Lindbergher the week before, Aaron Rodgers. He did what he was supposed to. He was efficient in his work, 14 of 20 for 3 touchdowns and 224 yards. He had the fumble, but I think that'll happen. Like, I'm not going to knock him a cheese for his performance because he got the ball punched out trying to escape a sack. But either which way, good for Rodgers to get back in the positive on the cheeses. Next up are 2 O linemen, each earning themselves the cheeses. David Bakhtiari and John Runyon. Both of them had 100% grades on PFF for their pass blocking. Neither one of them let up any pressures or QB hits or anything like that. So really great to see that from those 2 guys, and had some pretty good grades in the run game as well. And plus, if you're letting Aaron Jones go for 100 plus yards, you got to be blocking somewhat well, right?
Dylan too. I think what he hit like 71,
65.
65.
Yeah, so between 203 yards of rushing between the 2 of them. You're doing pretty well run blocking, I'd say. So, yeah, all in all, 6 players earning cheeses this week. Really great performance by everybody this week. I was very happy to see that win. So, the cheese board after 10 games, pulling away with the lead is Aaron Jones with 8 cheeses. Rashawn Gary still sadly with 4. Devondre Campbell at 3. Jair Alexander with 3. Preston Smith, Romeo Dobbs, and Rudy Ford now at 3. With 2, Aaron Rodgers, AJ Dillon, Elton Jenkins, David Bakhtiari, John Runyon, Kenny Clark, Keyshawn Nixon, Pat O'Donnell. As we pause quickly, Pat O'Donnell got the 2 cheeses he got the first week and hasn't had any since. Mostly because I think he hasn't had too many opportunities to really stand out in that facet. Um, Razul Douglas with 2, Quay Walker with 2, Christian Watson earning his first cheeses of the year. He's got 2. Alan Lazard 1. The rest of these players have 1. Alan Lazard, Eric Stokes, Darnell Savage, Jaron Reed, Mason Crosby, Randall Cobb, Robert Tunyon, Sammy Watkins, and Zach Tom. So, pretty nice cheese board. This week's edition of the cheese board is almost like a charcuterie board. There's so many cheeses in there.
Mm-hmm.
Let's
It's
see.
undisputed, much like Skip Bayless, undisputed. But today on that joke for 7 minutes.
Ever since I started it.
Yeah, there's a joke here.
There was a joke there, and you hit it out of the ballpark. Glow's not cruising for a bruising. Good episode this week. So let's dive into sort of Packers news, general stuff before we get into the preview of the Titans game. Jordan's on the YouTube. We're rubbing our hands together.
Birdman gif. Birdman.
Amari Rodgers, as nice as he is, and I feel bad making like light of it because of it, but he was cut along with Kylin Hill today, Tuesday. Long time coming, unfortunately. I think I saw it somewhere where Amari Rodgers had like 1 less fumble than he did career catches, which is a tough stat to have.
Oh, man.
So, he was cut. He's no longer of use in Green Bay, as everyone had been clamoring for, unfortunately. I did see the like the locker room interviews with like all the wide receivers talking about Amari Rodgers, and it seems like they all just understood that he was gonna go because of his performance. Like they said that Amari Rodgers sent them like a voice recording and a text and was like appreciative of everything that they helped him with and being great teammates, and it seemed like they all really liked him. But they all understood that it's a production based business. That was like the phrase they used throughout. And I think they all understood that, yeah, if you can't hang on to the ball and you're causing turnovers, losing them games, you just can't stick around for that long.
That was Randall Cobb's quote in a nutshell, especially with his connection with Amari Rodgers.
Yeah. Sammy Watkins said it too.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think there's any. It's weird. I think social media certainly distorts how things are felt.
Right.
We've talked about Amari Rodgers and his place within the team a lot. Mm-hmm. And you don't like putting a spotlight on someone who's struggling as much as he had been. Pretty much his whole Packers tenure. That stat pretty much summed it up, honestly. But again, as I said the other night, he was trotted out there way too long.
Yeah.
They knew this was a problem. This is a problem from the moment. I mean, this is a problem even last year. Yep. And they just invested in his draft pick. He was a 3rd-round pick. There was potential. He was a very productive player at Clemson. So, yeah, you don't want to cut bait on someone that you think could be part of your future plans. But given the way this year has gone, your wide receiver core has faced numerous injuries, even with the guys that you drafted since then and that have leapfrogged over Amari Rodgers. He had no role in the offense, even when it's, bare. The writing was on the wall for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like they gave him every chance to at least like just be on the field. And yes, is putting him out on punts and kick returns the best use of him? No, that
No.
was clearly not the case. But they tried and tried and tried. And I think I don't think that's I think it's I don't want to say malpractice because that's a very strong word,
hmm
but it by Sunday nights and he's fumbling again. And it was like, what did you expect to, as we said, like the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, thinking different results are going to occur.
Right.
And yeah, it was just time. It was well past time. If he's struggling this much and you're not even putting him in on offense when you have like three healthy wide receivers,
Right.
some weeks, like, I don't
The
know, it sucks.
Yeah, like the moments that he had on offense were like good. He was making like somewhat good like progress, but he wasn't doing it um like either well enough in practice to get those like heightened opportunities, or if it was just crowded enough through the years that he wasn't able to showcase them, etc. But I think he has a place in the NFL as a receiver for a bad team to get his game right. He can't be put on punt returns. Like I wouldn't be surprised if like a bad I'm trying to think of like the worst team, like the Texans or the
Jaguars.
Jaguars. They're not doing half bad, but just like the bad teams, the Lions, like if they want to add another dynamic player to their offense, really picked them up and was like, hey, let's work on you a little bit. Let's just like get your receiving skills up to snuff, and then see where if you can be a focused part of our offense and never let you touch the ball on a punt return. Um, I think you said it's not malpractice. I would agree, but I don't think the coaching staff put him in the best position to succeed.
No.
And that's part of the general managers and the coaches like job is to build a team that looks good and try to find solutions to problems when they persist. And Amari Rodgers at the punt returner position was a problem that persisted, and them not taking him off of it sooner to showcase his use elsewhere, even just to like trade him at the deadline or not the deadline, the like cut day or something like that, just to give him an opportunity. I think wasn't the best move by the Packers, but if they needed somebody to do it and he was their only option, I can't fault them for sticking with it for so long and hoping that he'd figure it out and hoping that he'd figure it out. I think they just hoped for too long.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
um, the other person cut was Kylin Hill, and one of the weirder, like I guess, quotes from Matt LaFleur, um, on Kylin Hill's surprise cut because he had just come back from his ACL surgery and did like one rush against the Lions, and then didn't see him at all last week. But he was cut, and Rob Dubosky reports from the press conference. This is a tweet, a few of them actually, or no, just two. Um, Packers coach Matt LaFleur said the decision to release running back Kylin Hill was less about performance. Quote, I realize he is in a loaded room, but regardless of your role, no matter how big or small, we expect guys to come to work and be supportive. Following up, conversely, Amari Rodgers' release was obviously about fumbles. From a work standpoint, LaFleur said Amari did everything they asked, but maybe a fresh start somewhere else would be best. So, kind of what we had said. But on the top of Kylin Hill, that quote is something else, Jordan.
Loaded. It is loaded with whatever it is. And again, a seventh rounder, they stuck with him when he again tore his ACL. Easily could have cut bait with him, but again, they
hmm
saw something in him that they felt like whether it's special teams or maybe getting the occasional carry in the backfield behind Jones and Dillon and even Patrick Taylor kind of being in and out of there.
Right.
Um, yeah, weird timing, but when a coach goes that far publicly, an NFL coach too, but Matt LaFleur doesn't just say things to say things.
Right. He definitely is precise in his comments to the media.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Um,
Go ahead.
yeah, that is pretty damning.
Maybe it has something to do with Kylin Hill's tweet after the game on Sunday. Uh, Kylin Hill tweeted 7:53 p.m. Sunday night. This was probably some issue with it.
This is like 50 minutes after the win.
Yeah,
Probably.
just 3 periods. Just 3 periods. That's all. So I'm guessing he wasn't too thrilled that he didn't get any touches the week after the Lions game when he made his
He was
return.
active too, right?
I think he was.
Okay.
So like maybe he's upset that he didn't get more look, but I don't know where they would have given him more look. Like Jones and Dillon were playing pretty damn well to not deserve to be taken out for Kylin Hill.
What do you? Yeah. What?
But I'm guessing that he was frustrated, and then that probably boiled over into a Monday practice, and that's probably what led him getting cut. If I'm putting my reporter cap on, my speculation cap on. So same thing with him. We'll see if he gets picked up somewhere else. He's got flashes of talent, but other than that, he's not a Packer no more.
No.
But sorry, go ahead.
General thing too. So two players that were drafted in 2021. Andy Herman, fellow Blue Wire teammate, Pack a Day podcast. Please listen to it. For all your Packers. After listening to this Packers podcast, listen to that. I'm great at promotion. He had a very illustrative tweet that I did not think about. And this is only what, year and a half after the draft. Let's go through their draft class.
I think
Eric
you and
Stokes,
yeah, it's bad.
Struggled mightily. This is per Andy Herman. This is his thoughts, and I agree with most of them. Eric Stokes struggled mightily and on IR. Josh Myers, fine, didn't take a step. Amari Rodgers cut. Royce Newman benched. TJ Slayton hasn't taken a step. Shamar John Charles, injured / backup. Cole Van Lannon, traded. Isaiah McDuffie, solid backup linebacker, getting the reps right now. Kylin Hill cut. That is not great.
A bad year of drafting.
That is like Ted Thompson, like late in there, where it's like, oh, these guys aren't even panning out from the jump.
Right. But to be fair, I think a few of those are like they're take them with like a grain of salt, right? Like there's always sophomore slumps that come with these things. Like Eric Stokes did well last year. And like obviously Andy Herman's tweet is just for this year. I think if you take that tweet from last year, it looks it looks a lot different. But I think that's while correct, a very negative view of that class, despite it looking like it being good last year. It looks pretty bad this year because of injuries and just not progressing. Like Eric Stokes has had a bad year. That's without question. But he did well last year, and if he takes another step next year, then we don't think about it at all. He's just had a tough sophomore year and got put on IR. Same thing with Myers, and same thing with Royce Newman. Like they're rookies last year, and they filled in fine. That's like when you have Adam Stenavich coaching your offensive line, you're going to have linemen over, I guess, excelling at their positions. And now that the O-line has taken a step back this year because Stenavich isn't in that room, I think that's just those rookies or sophomores showing their age, right? Like, I'd bet that if Adam Stenavich was still coaching that offensive line, they'd take a better step than they have. But then, yeah, like McDuffie's been fine. We still have to see for Shamar, John Charles, and TJ Slayton. So it's definitely tough. The worst one for me, and I'll let you, if you have something to say, you can go ahead and say it. Like you did.
No, you go.
Okay. Zach Cruz had a tweet from today as well, saying the Packers traded up for Oren Burks and Amari Rodgers, so they spent 4 third-round picks, a 4th and a 5th on Oren Burks, Amari Rodgers, Jace Sternberger, and Josiah DeGuara between 2018 and 2021. Like, that's bad. Like,
and love.
Well, right, but that's just trading up for Oren Burks and Amari Rodgers. Yeah. Like, missing out on 4 third-round picks is pretty big for one serviceable tight end in Josiah DeGuara right now. Otherwise, the other three
And
aren't
I
on the
don't think we
team.
would have been saying that 3 weeks ago.
No, God, no.
So
So,
that's where it's kind of where I mean, this whole season has been a complete mess.
yeah,
And talking about being split into different windows of competing for the present, but trying to reload and sustain something.
hmm
That's the kind of stuff that like it's not great that two of your 7 draft picks from last year are already cut,
yeah.
and
One traded, right?
so one traded, so 3.
Yeah,
Royce Newman benched, and we really haven't seen him since he got benched. That's
yeah,
where it's like that's stuff that can contribute to where we are right now, where it's like where is how do you evaluate the talent on this roster when it's struggling as much as it is, and then you kind of look at like, oh, the little pieces that add up and just like where it is right now. Granted, this is a very I think it's a very objective way of looking at it, even after they finally win a freaking game.
right.
But it's like it is those things of just like it's not just about the offense failing, Aaron Rodgers struggling, not
Right.
having Devontae, blah 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 blah. The same stuff over and over again. When you look at big picture things, which is really hard to do with Adam and I can do this so many times talking about the Bucks 15-man roster
Right.
plus two ways.
Right.
You could even I mean it's kind of easier with baseball because the positions are very specialized too. When it's football, it's like it just it's such a everything is so nuanced, but I feel like with football specifically, it is the least nuanced sport to discuss because everybody's like, if you're 10-6 and you're going to the playoffs, that's great.
Right.
It's just I don't know, it's a very different way of looking at things, but like in terms of the roster building and over the bird's eye view of everything. It's kind of stark to see that happen so quickly. And just kind of shows you as great as Eric Stokes, and I totally agree with you. Eric Stokes was great last year. Progress is not linear.
Right.
Just because you have a
Especially
good
in the
rookie
NFL.
year, especially in the NFL. Everything is so situation dependent too. And we, again, as I was saying, like for all the information that we can get in football, it only scratches the surface of like actually understanding. And I speak for myself on this, actually
Right.
understanding what the teams are calling and what you're seeing on the field. And you're making your own assumptions, but that might not be the assumption of the team that's making it too.
Right. I think it's there's levels to this, right? There's
Yes.
like the eye test in football can go a long way in just like recognizing that what winning football likes and looks like and what a positive play should look like. Like we can tell watching a quarterback throw the ball what's a good throw, what's a bad throw. And for the most part, you'd probably be right most of the time. But then
Yes.
if you get into like receivers routes and like did the receiver cut the wrong way and that's why did he cut in not out and that's why the ball sailed out of bounds towards nobody. Like that you kind of like recognize too. Like, oh, the receiver went the wrong way. That's why the ball there. But if it's a low throw with a high throw, that's on the quarterback. Same thing with like linemen. If a lineman gets blown up, then it's probably not a net positive play. But you can like either go super broad stroke with like football analysis like that, or you can get like very fine analysis too, and sort of what defensive schemes they're running, uh what way a lineman is supposed to pull on a like a
How come
halfback pitch or
Rodgers
something like
missed
that.
Lazard wide open in the middle of the field on this play?
Right.
But it is true. It's
Exactly.
so everything about football. You could hear podcasts or the day after the Super Bowl talking about if it's a close game. You're talking about the play that decides it,
Right.
and then it's like that again. Everything about football is just so crazy. Where it's like it's distilled down to these very specific actions
Yep.
or inactions.
Yeah. And some of it
And
too is like even receiver breaks. Like
yes,
on Watson's second touchdown, he like we talked about on Sunday, it was a 3-man bunch on the outside. And I think Rodgers said that Watson went for an inside break rather than an outside break. And like that positioning of where he had his receiver on his hip mattered a lot when he put his foot in the ground and went towards the middle of the field and broke away from him. Like it,
Yep.
like those little things matter.
hmm But it's not given the time of day that it should be, and likewise the big stuff too. It's such a hard sport to really, in totality, to kind of evaluate and see the chain reaction of all these things.
Oh, right.
Unless if it's like, I don't know. There are a lot of good people that talk about football.
Yeah.
I not being one of them, but
like
it's
like
just that it's just a different kind of way of looking at things that is still kind of new, I guess.
right. Absolutely. Should we talk about who is probably going to replace Amari Rodgers
Yes.
on the punt returns? Well, first and foremost, that might be Keyshawn Nixon if they stick with that. But they signed former Jaguars, I believe, wide receiver Dede Westbrook to their practice squad, which I think they'll probably elevate him since, I guess they might. With Randall Cobb coming off of IR, I'd be curious to see what their plan is for the coming weeks with that. But Dede Westbrook, one of the more prolific punt returners in the game since he's been in the league. This is from Matt Schneedeman of The Athletic. Among the 52 players with at least 35 punt returns since the start of the 2017 season, New Packers practice squad wide receiver Dede Westbrook is one of 12 players with both a return TD and 9 yards per return, more specifically 9.33. So better than most and
Mhm.
clearly explosive. I think it's just better to have a proven receiver back there. I should say proven receiver, a proven punt returner back there in Dede Westbrook, who's done it so much, versus just keeping with Amari back there. I'm a fan of the signing, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, they needed the absolute opposite of what they were trotting out there. Some proven veteran. It's just a matter of just doing the job. And even someone that again could help if they need someone on the field as a wide receiver. He
Yep.
has shown it. I mean, if you look at his numbers in Jacksonville, it's pretty good. Then again, his quarterback was Blake Bortles, and you just goes to show how much time has changed.
Yeah.
But yeah, former Packers quarterback Blake Bortles, mind you.
I forgot about that.
Yes. But yeah, I am pleased, and we'll see if they elevate him. I mean, they obviously still have a roster spot open, even after elevating or activating Cobb from IR, but it's still a quick turnaround that you don't know. I don't think there's official word that he's playing yet.
Yeah, I would doubt it.
Yeah.
Well, I guess for Cobb, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think he might. I don't know.
I would.
They haven't
I
said for
would think
sure.
so too.
They haven't
Yeah.
said for sure, but I think he might.
Yeah.
My brain was at for Dede Westbrook for some reason.
Yeah.
Shouldn't say for some reason. It's because I'm looking at his stats. Um, Going back to 2017, which was his first year in the league, he had 69 punts returned for 650 yards, and obviously the one touchdown. But more, I guess, what we want to focus on, because that's what at the height of our focus with Amari Rodgers, in the 5 years that he's been returning kicks, he had 8 total fumbles. So 1 his rookie year, 3 his second year, 1, 2. 2 last year with the Minnesota Vikings. And not like an insignificant amount of games played either. 7 his first year, 16 his second year, 15, 2, probably an injury, and then 15 again. So he has the volume back there. But then, obviously, Amari Rodgers had 7 fumbles in 2 years. With only 8 career catches, which is a tough stat. So, yeah, and it's not like he doesn't have experience receiving either. He's got 9 total career touchdowns. His best year was with the Jaguars in 2019. Or so in 20 I mean, they're kind of the same. He had 2 good years in Jacksonville. In 2018, he had 66 catches for 717 yards and 5 touchdowns. In 2019, he had the same amount of targets and receptions, which is crazy, for 660 yards and 3 touchdowns. So like an average wide receiver, like 3 level quarterback. Then only played the 2 games last year at Jacksonville, and then played 15 with Minnesota last year for 10 catches and 68 yards. So hopefully they can hold on to him, and maybe he turns into that former receiver he was in Jacksonville. But I'd be surprised if they work him um into the receiving group right away.
Yeah, same. Definitely same.
Yeah. Should we finally talk about the Titans game this week?
Tennessee. Yes.
uh, Injury reports are long again, which is, I shouldn't say like unexpected, but uh, not necessarily good news either. So we'll go
No.
through um the full ones for each team. The Packers, this is for Tuesday participation. Since they have the short game, they have Monday and Tuesday. So this is just for Tuesday. Uh, the full participants in practice were Chris Barnes, coming off of his concussion, so hopefully he's ready to go this week if he's full participating. Um, Mason Crosby with his back injury, it seems like he's okay. They had Ramiz Ahmed do kickoffs this week, which is
Yes, we'd even talk about that. That was kind of
yeah.
interesting.
So it's not. I won't say it's like too interesting for the sole purpose of I feel like you see a lot now that more punters do, like punters or different kickers do that in the NFL. Like it's usually like a punter now will do it, but maybe that's college. But I feel like I've seen enough punters do kickoffs now versus like old, like Robbie Gould doing kickoffs or something like that.
Yeah.
But I don't like wasting a roster spot on a kicker. So hopefully that Mason Crosby, like a backup kicker, so hopefully Mason Crosby's healthy enough to where they can go out and just not have Ramiz Ahmed on the active roster.
Yeah.
Um, the other full participants were Christian Watson and Devontae Wyatt. Christian Watson had an ankle; he was limited on Monday. Full participant on Tuesday. Devontae Wyatt had a foot injury, limited on Monday. Full participant on Tuesday. Our limiteds this week: Preston Smith with a shoulder groin injury; he was limited also on Monday. John Runyon, Aaron Rodgers, he was a DNP on Monday with his thumb, but just vet rest probably. Limited. Keyshawn Nixon, Alan Lazard, Aaron Jones, Kingsley Enagbare, and Roswell Douglas. And I think that was it for limiteds. Yeah, so I expect all of them to play unless something crops up, which knock on wood it doesn't. Um, did not participate. I think this is more of a workload issue for David Bakhtiari than it is an injury issue, we hope. But he was a DMP both Monday and Tuesday. Probably not a good idea to practice him fully ahead of a Thursday game. Devondre Campbell, also DMP for both days. Hopefully he's getting back to playing. I would assume if he's not back this week, he'd be back next week against the Eagles, but it's hard to track that with his knee injury. Romeo Dobbs, they haven't put him on IR, which is interesting, so they would anticipate him being back closer to the 4 week mark than 5 or 6.
Yeah.
I think we're on week, I guess, 1.5 of him being injured, so. Looks like Elton Jenkins did not participate in practice. Probably same thing as Bakhtiari, I'd hope. Shamir John Charles didn't practice, and that is it for the DMPs. So very long for the Packers, with hopefully not too many people sitting out. Obviously, Dobbs will probably be out. I would bet money Devondre Campbell probably doesn't play. And then we'll see about Shamar John Charles because he didn't play this past week either. So here's to hoping it can be a more active roster than what this injury report shows. But then for the Titans, we'll go through some of their big names. Ryan Tannehill back playing for them. I think he started last week. Yes, he did. Over Malik Willis. Titans fans, I think, were on the edge for it a little bit, knowing Tannehill. Kevin Strong, their defensive lineman, full participant. Jeffrey Simmons, was a DNP and is up to limited. He has had a nagging ankle injury, according to the Twitter machine and what I've seen. I guess he sat out last week, um, and he feels a lot better, according to himself, from the interview I saw with him in the press conference or in the at his locker. So he's a pretty big deal for them on the defensive line. So if he could be out and respectfully, that'd be great. We don't want anybody injured, but if you're a force on the inside, I don't want you coming at my quarterback. um, Derrick Henry participated. He was had a head vet rest, but he's on the injury report. They put Caleb Farley, their cornerback, on IR, so they'll be down a cornerback, uh, which is, I'm not going to say good, but you understand the point as it pertains to our receivers. Amani Hooker was limited in participation. He was their safety. Trying to take a look at Bud Dupree has a hip injury, former Pittsburgh Steeler, right?
Yes.
So he was a DNP both days. I think he's pretty old, isn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. He's been around for a few years now. I
Yeah.
want to say.
So that might just be pseudo vet rest. 29. So I could imagine he'd probably just be resting. There's no really news things on him when you search his name, so this will be just fine. Um, Trying to see if there's anybody else. Randy Bullock, their kicker, has a right calf injury, DMP both days, so wonder if he plays. And then Kristen Fulton, one of their starting cornerbacks, hamstring injury, full participant in practice. So we'll see how it goes for the Titans. But let's get into offense, defense, and just general the importance of this game. Packers sit at 4-6, going into a tough game against the Eagles next week again, like in Philadelphia. I think the difference between going to that game at 5-6 and 4-7 in the current playoff race is monumental. Like big difference in vibes and general attitude towards making this run that they need to make if they win versus if they lose.
Yeah, I mean, this is the problem with having slid as long as they did. Granted, as we talked about at the time, a lot of those teams that the Packers played against during the losing streak turned out to be a lot better than we ever thought.
Yep.
Giants, Jets, Commanders now, they're right ahead of the Packers, and that tiebreaker is going to really hurt them. And then you just look at the schedule after this game. I mean, as you said, Eagles, Bears are up right after that. Rams, obviously struggling. Cooper Kupp just got put on IR too. Dolphins have been surging. Vikings just beat the Bills and, tied for the best record in the NFL. Lions after that to close out the year.
Yep.
So, again, margin for error is not great, not high. All it takes is losing games that you kind of have an even shot to win, like this one, even or greater. Because I'm looking at that Eagles game. I'm definitely looking at that Dolphins game that is going to be really, really tough now. Because everything's starting to kind of roll for them too.
Yep. They're healthy.
They're healthy, and that's where, as much as we were talking about Stokes struggling this year, when you're down a cornerback that's pretty good, and you have to go against a receiving core like that,
Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle.
and even Sherfield has been pretty good. Gesicki is a good tight. They got weapons. That'll be the Christmas preview. But
woo!
Yeah, buckle up, people. But yeah, I mean, it's a greater amount of pressure put on this game. Now, even after you broke the skid, you're at home again. You could kind of get something going. This week too, playing as early as you do, you get some time to kind of rest up. And as we just talked about with the injury report, there's so many guys banged up or limited, or they're managing their workload and all that stuff. Having that extra day, or days, even after playing a game that's going to be hard fought for against a Titans team that's always tough. Like, I do think that'll help them. It's just a matter of just getting the job done
Right.
this week.
Absolutely. Like Titans are a 6-3 football team. They've had a good season so far. Before we get too far off of it, talking about the skid, and you said a lot of these teams are better than we anticipated. Um, the Packers have had the fifth hardest schedule this year, which is like incredible thinking about like that run we had to start the season. Like a lot of those teams are better than what we thought they were. Um, I think yeah, looking at this rank through week 10, which is like obviously how you can how you look at it. The only teams with the hardest schedule are the Giants, the Colts, the Bears, and the Patriots. All teams
Wow,
like the Giants have the hardest schedule and still
that's
sit.
crazy.
Yeah,
I guess because the NFC East too has been so
it's been
good.
so good for the Giants.
That's yeah,
But then the Colts have had a hard schedule. Like the Bears are a game worse than us, and they've had a very hard schedule. And then the Patriots are hanging in there at fourth place in the tough division over there. But
yeah,
like going in as a one seed and getting the schedule as a one seed in your division, like the Packers did from last year, we knew we'd have a harder schedule, but we haven't even faced those harder scheduled games yet.
yes. And of all those teams that you mentioned, including the Packers, everything in the NFL this year, there's a lot of divisions that you can't even. I mean, who's winning the NFC South right now? It's the Panthers. Or the
I think
Buccaneers,
the Buccaneers
and
have
they're
are
under
now
500.
yeah, I think the Buccaneers with their win against the Seahawks went back in the first.
Yeah,
I'll check
and
that
the
for you.
NFC West too. Like the Seahawks are leading that division still, and no one anticipated that, but it's very thin. Like everything's very jumbled. But then you look at the NFC East and then the NFC North, where yeah, three crappy teams, Packers included,
Right.
and the 8-1 Vikings.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just very. Those are the two divisions this year that are just seemingly just kind of by far and away either everybody's really good or three teams kind of stink or do stink, and there's one just team running away with it, which used to be the Packers, but now it's the Vikings this year.
Right. And even then, I'm looking at this is from last week, so it's not updated past this game. But of before the Cowboys game, the Packers had the sixth hardest remaining strength of schedule, it looks like. So
That lines up.
yeah, it's it's
Yeah.
tough. So it'll, if they go on one with this run, they need to start winning. Like they need to continue winning this week and keep going through the rest of the season because they can't really afford to lose that many more games because as we mentioned the standings are tough and we don't have the tiebreakers that would benefit us. Like we are sitting at the ninth in the playoff race right now, and ahead of us is the Commanders at 5-5 and the Giants at 7-2. We have like the Giants are the fifth seed. We don't have the tiebreaker over them. It's the trend continues. If the trend continues, it won't matter anyways. But
Yeah.
then we have it over the Cowboys, which is important. They're in the sixth seed, and the Niners are in the seventh seed. We don't face the Niners, so we don't have a chance to get tiebreaker over them head to head. But we don't have the. And then in eighth is the Commanders. Lost to them, don't have it over them. So
Yeah.
it'll be tough.
That's
So
part of the problem.
that's part of the problem. They
You gotta
gotta
take care of business against those teams.
exactly. So they gotta take care of this against the tougher teams, which starts this week with Tennessee being 6-3. So um,
Division
let's.
leaders.
That's right. Let's start. We'll start with the offense or the defense. I'll leave it up to you.
Let's go offense.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a fascinating thing
Okay.
going on here.
Okay. I think obviously we're looking for the offense to keep clicking with their success they had against the Cowboys on Sunday, utilizing Christian Watson down the field and getting the run game going early. But as you and I talked pre-pod, Titans are pretty good at run defense. It seemed like you had a little tidbit you were teasing there. Is there something you want to tell the audience?
Yeah, let's get right into it. They allow the second fewest rushing yards in the NFL. That's not great for the
Not great
Packers.
for how the game plan shook out for the Cowboys game.
No, 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 no. Um, yeah, it's gonna be really tough. I mean, this is kind of just Tennessee's MO. In general, they have had really good defenses under Mike Vrabel, and it's carried them to um playoffs. What, 2 out of the last 3 years? I think last year they missed out. Um,
Um, nope. They were in the playoffs last year. They lost in the divisional round to the Bengals.
did they win the division?
Yep.
They had to have,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Yeah, in part because again, all those teams are not great.
Yeah, they
Um,
every since 2019 they've made the
yes,
playoffs. The
yes.
2019 season was when they went to the
That's when they went to
championship
yes,
by the Kansas
yes.
City and lost. But yeah,
Yeah,
they
this is
lost first round. Or sorry, they lost in the wild card in 2020, the COVID season, and then they had a bye last year and
and
lost in the
oh
divisional
yeah,
round.
they
They
were
were
the
the
one
one
seed.
seed.
That's right.
Yep.
I forgot about that.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. Why did I think they missed?
I don't know.
They kind of did because they
they
squandered.
they were the Titans, the Packers were the same last year.
Yeah.
They're the same
Well,
thing.
that is my overall point. You just walked into it
Oh,
right now.
oh, look at me walking into points.
The Titans were kind of the analog that I had with this Packers team going into it.
Going into the season.
Yes, you looked at, oh, this is a really stacked defense. It's really good across the line. It's Devondre Campbell they brought back. Quay Walker looks like a good, blue chip or first round guy that could, slot in and give a little bit more of an edge within the middle of the field. Secondary, pretty good. They got stability all across the board. So that was I kept looking at like the defense is there. Certainly the run game is there.
Yep.
They don't have someone as great and prolific as Derrick Henry, even though Aaron Jones is pretty close.
I think they're the
The
same.
Packers wouldn't get out of their way.
I think they're the same but do different things. They both have the same level
Yes.
of impact on the game.
Yeah. It's a one-man show versus a committee bouncing off.
Right.
The Packers wouldn't get out of Aaron Jones's way, or vice versa, whatever. um, but yeah, I just kind of like this. That is the model, and plus LaFleur came from Tennessee
Yep.
before he got hired from by Green Bay.
Yep.
I just felt like that is what you're shooting for, and you got a pretty good quarterback that isn't Ryan Tannehill.
Right.
Because that's the other thing is, we'll get into that later. But yeah, I just felt like that if you wanted to look at a team that the Packers could have followed, and this new identity post Devontae, Tennessee's kind of it. That's what it is. It's not flashy at all. There's a little bit more
Right.
that with Aaron Jones and stuff like that, but like they have a very specific way of playing, and it can be boring as hell, but it's proven results.
Right.
That's kind of where they're at.
Yeah, their offense is really centered around Derrick Henry because Ryan Tannehill has proved to us for years that he really just can't make like the big throws that you'd expect out of the elite level quarterback play in the NFL. Particularly because they traded AJ Brown. Like that was a decision. Like another way the Packers sort of
decision.
mirrored the Titans.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they've been hampered at the wide receiver position this year, but they've still led to a 6-3 record. Like it's you got to give them credit where credit's due, albeit they haven't had the hardest schedule so far. Like they lost to the Giants, lost to the Bills, so the two teams that are pretty darn good so far, they've lost to at the start of the season, and they won on a 5-game winning streak against the Raiders, the Colts, the Commanders, the Colts, the Texans, then lost to the Chiefs, and then beat the Broncos. Like they just haven't really faced that level of talent. They haven't beat the level of talent that you'd expect them to do as a division leader. So I think this will be a good test to see where Green Bay falls in that realm of their opponents. Will they be the list of bad teams that the Titans have beat all year? Or will they be under the list of good teams that the Titans have lost to all year?
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, the receiving core, as I mentioned, has been sort of uh, decimated. I'll say, not living up to expectations is another way to say it. Um, their leading receiver this year is Robert Woods, who was in LA last year. He hasn't really panned out the way you'd like to see him pan out for what I think they signed him for. Only one touchdown, 266 yards through 9 games. He has started 7 of them. Uh, I'm sorry, yeah, that's right. But then their uh, second most receiving yardage receiver is Nick Westbrook Akine. He has 2 touchdowns and 257 yards in the same amount of games and starts as Robert Woods. So it's just like not too great for them. Their rookie Traylon Burks, who I really liked in the draft, just came back last week. I think they put him on IR, if I'm not mistaken. He was out for 4 games. 153 yards, so he's getting that level of production, sort of similar to Woods and Akine. But they just need to start staying healthy, and hopefully that they're hoping that Tannehill can make these throws and make their offense a little more balanced. But like the focus of their offense is Derrick Henry, who like I think is one of the slowest looking runners in the NFL. Like he's so big. Like he is an absolute unit of a man. One of my favorite pictures is him and Mark Ingram standing next to each other, and Mark Ingram's like looking up at him like he's like a giant. 6'3", 250 pounds. Jeez Louise, man. Team tackling this week is going to be a theme for the Packers.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, he's got almost 1,000 yards rushing already. He's at 923.
He is. Yeah. It is honestly. It's incredible.
Yeah, like
Because it's not even. I don't even know. I can't even think of like Marshawn Lynch is probably the last of the very like stocky built guy who ran with power
right,
that just chewed up yards and did it for such a long time. I mean, he did 2 comebacks with the Raiders, and I was like, yeah, he kind of could play still. Like it wasn't that like it wasn't crazy.
right,
But Derrick Henry is just another level of like athlete.
right.
And I think he's what a couple of weeks ago he passed Eddie George as the Titans franchise rushing leader, which
Didn't know that.
Eddie George played for a long time
Played for a
and
long
went over
time.
10,000 yards too. So like
Right.
that's not nothing.
No, it's not nothing at all. Well, let's get back to the Packers offense. We'll talk more of Titans offense in a bit. We talk about the Packers defense. Packers offense, as you were saying, coming into this year, was similar to the Titans team last year, and like really a run first offense. And it's going to be difficult for them this week if that Titans run defense is going to be as staunch as it has been all year. So I really hope they stick with it. Like you only get so many drives in a game, which is like why it's hard to stick with it if it's not working. But I'd like to see them at least sustain 1 or 2 drives at the beginning of um beginning of the game with the run game, like kind of attacking in a similar way of which they started the Cowboys game.
Yes.
Obviously, that's two ends of the spectrum of Cowboys run defense versus Titans run defense. But I want to see that level of commitment to it just to make sure we're not certain it's not working. Don't be afraid to do it because they're so good. Be proven you can't do it before you guys start going away from it.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, it's a matter of just sticking the game plan. That is part of why I have this nagging feeling that whenever they go up against a team that has like-minded principles or a team that LaFleur has come from, whether it's been Tennessee or the San Francisco games. Weirdly enough, he hasn't had this problem against Sean McVay because they've done well against the Rams.
Right.
But they just always kind of zag when they should just keep zigging. You know what I mean? Like
No, I agree with you.
and that's where it's like you can almost outsmart yourself of like just you can respect the talent that they have. You can respect the way that they probably know how the Packers are going to play because it's again very similar to how they are. Um, just go with it. Like if it doesn't work, you can find other ways to do it. But if you're not giving if you're not giving yourself the chance to see if it's going to work or have the occasional explosive play break out, because it's not like as we'll get into, it's not like the Titans offense is going to be explosive enough that it's going to like you're down 14-0,
Right.
or it's going to be things happen where stuff like that could come about. But like, just give yourself the chance to establish the way you want to play, and don't I guess reinvent the wheel, for lack of a better way of saying it.
Right. I was just thinking, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a big play on a flea flicker this week. Because, like, they're going to be selling out to stop Derrick Henry because they need to with the run defense that they have. I wouldn't be surprised that if the corners peek inside to go team tackle, that if one of Traylon Burks, Robert Woods, or Nick Westbrook or Kine just run that,
Burns down the
just
field.
burns, and then they get a touchdown off of it, I think that would be a smart play from the Titans. And that
Could
makes
be.
makes me scared.
Yeah. Uh,
But yeah, just sort of like we had talked about, sticking to the run and then going other ways. The the Titans pass defense is like okay, like they've been known for their defense over the years, but we attacked a really good Cowboys pass defense. Like I think we can attack this Titans defense too. Let's just use Christian Watson the same way we used him last week. It took us 10 games to get there, but we got there. We started using him down the field, and he made catches, and he made touchdowns. Let's keep with that and get like the lot of the receivers involved. Keep getting Christian Watson involved. Keep like throwing to Lazard if you can catch it 75% of the time,
and now you get
preferably,
Cobb back too.
and you get Cobb back too. Hopefully, that this might start coming together as a cohesive offense to start clicking on all cylinders. I'm hesitant to hope for it because it's been one game and the Packers get up for the Cowboys. We'll see if they get up for the Titans. My hope is that LaFleur wants to beat his predecessor and not predecessor, his mentor in Mike Vrabel, and where he was before he came to Green Bay, and that's what helps get the team sort of excited for this game and push them towards the sustainable or this winning streak. But um, I really hope that the game plan going in is run first, then let Rodgers cook after we get the run game going. Let's the passing game open up.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't overuse the passing game. Have it
Yep.
be a safety valve.
Yep.
Cobb, I think if he is close to 100%, I think is going to really help in that regard, because
Big slot receiver, not
big slot
not
receiver.
not big in roll.
Yeah, big and roll. Yep. And mentioned it before, Titans secondary definitely banged up.
Yep.
That is where I just don't want them to upset or flip the order of how they should be operated as an offense, because
Right.
It's very obvious that they can start to create more explosive plays with the passing game if Christian Watson does anything close to, or not close to, but if he does the same things where he's getting separation, he's wide open, he's giving that kind of downfield threat that they needed to start to open up things offensively. Where, as we're talking about, like the Packers coaching staff to not outsmart themselves, Tennessee is going to go into this where, okay, maybe we're not going to have an 8-man box all the time, especially if it's, Aaron Jones out there, or if, even with AJ Dillon, they have a very powerful running back in their own roster that they can kind of look at like, okay, this is how we would operate with if we're looking at a AJ Dillon in the backfield, like everybody else looks at Derrick Henry. So yeah, I think that's where it's like, don't get too crazy with the passing game, because I think if things are, the balance of how they do it gets so out of whack as we saw during the losing streak, like it's going to be a lot of missed opportunities, missed chances, all that stuff.
Right. And I think like they could fall into the trap because looking at the stats, the Titans have allowed the fourth most passing yards this season on the second most attempts, like face attempts. They've allowed 2,453 yards. So like I could definitely see Rodgers and the Flu are coming into this game licking their chops and salivating over the idea of throwing the ball right away and throwing the ball, throwing the ball, throwing the ball. I just don't think it's smart. I just don't think it's smart
No.
to not utilize Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon to the best of their ability
Also, that's
with the run
so.
game. And it's like look at what they did versus like the Cowboys. Like that is it worked so well when Rodgers didn't have to throw for 40 times a game. Like let him throw 20 times a game and make the throws that he's throwing important and easy. Like
Yes.
for what it's worth, two of the three touchdowns that Watson had were easy throws. Like
Yes.
the second one, which is a slant across the middle, like a post route across the middle, that's a pitch and catch. And then the third one, that was like I think it was 7, 10 yards or something like that. It wasn't too far, just a slant across the middle from the other side. Nice, easy pitch and catch. It wasn't that difficult of a throw for Rodgers to make, as opposed to the first one where it was a bomb down the field where he hasn't been throwing that well this season. Was a tough throw, tough catch, and it turned out well. Like let's make those easy throws easy for Rodgers and have success that way, versus trying bomb after bomb after bomb because they can't get anything going on offense.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was just looking at too. You mentioned Tennessee. Was the stat? They're
They have
the
the
second most.
fourth most receiving yards allowed at 24.53, and then they've um, faced the second most attempts at 365, and they've only played 9 games versus 10.
I was also, and you look at the top 10 of those teams that have thrown the most.
Been thrown
Colts
at the
fourth,
most.
just thrown passing offense.
Oh, okay.
Colts fourth, Chiefs fifth. They haven't played the Vikings yet. Commanders eighth, Jaguars ninth, 10th, Bills.
So
So
they face right.
teams that have one talented wide receiver core, two really good quarterbacks, in Mahomes and Josh Allen's case, and Taylor Heineke. Three could just be. I mean, in the Colts case too, like they've been down a lot this year,
Right.
so they're trying to win games by passing.
Yep.
So yeah, like it's all very game dependent and situation dependent. I don't want the Packers to look at that like, yeah, we can throw all over them. It's like,
Right.
no,
No, the teams
you
that have
can on some plays,
right.
but not all the time.
Right. I think it'd be better just for them to try to have the balanced offense they had last week and see where it gets them through the first quarter, quarter and a half.
Yeah.
I should say through the first 3 drives. Because if they get into a place, which is like the worst case scenario for any game for this Packers team this season, to where they go 3 and out or have like a shortened
On the
drive,
scripted plays.
right? But then they allow a really long drive, followed up by another short drive, followed up by another really long drive by the opposing team. By that time, it's almost like halfway through second quarter if they're that long of drives. That's really where you start to get into trouble where you just can't even get off 20 offensive plays. So,
Mhm.
um, yeah, the first and second drive of the game is critically where I think this Packers offense gets its energy and where it gets going from. If they can have success in the first and second drive, I think they have success throughout the game. I'm hoping this iteration of the Packers, obviously the first half of the season that wasn't the case because it always fell off in the second quarter, but last week we saw the same thing. They had success in the first drive, had success in the second drive, and the offense went from there. Talk defense a little.
Let's do it.
As we were talking about earlier, just so we went in between both a little bit earlier. Uh, Team tackling is going to be huge this week. Derrick Henry is a man to take down, and the Packers' run defense is not good. Like Tony Pollard went off for over 100 yards. I'm pretty sure last week, if I'm not mistaken. If I
Yes.
so, uh, just gotta make sure. Yeah, 115 yards. So like, Tony Pollard's no slouch for sure, but he's still the backup to Zeke Elliott. Like, I don't like Derrick Henry might just run over this team every play, but team tackling is going to be huge because I don't think they have a good enough tackler to take down Derrick Henry with consistency every single game, every single play, essentially.
No. No, they don't.
No, they don't.
This is where like if Chris Barnes can play, just having a body in the
Right.
middle of the field that just helps.
Right.
I've liked what we saw from McDuffie so far,
Me too. Me
um,
too.
but this is a challenge. This is a challenge for a lot of a lot of people on that front seven. So, yeah, I mean, how much can you limit Derrick Henry and prevent huge chunk running plays? Because that's the other thing. Like Titans, this is going to be a very fast game.
You
I
think so?
think. I think so.
Hmm,
Because the
I could
clock
see
is going
that.
to be burning a lot.
Yeah.
I don't really. The Titans know how they want to play. They're going to feed Derrick Henry 25 to 30 times.
Right.
Um, he very well just could run over everybody on Lambeau Field.
Yeah. Even the fans
Even
just
the fans,
keep running
yeah.
into the
Watch out there.
stadium. Right.
Watch out. He's not necessarily leaping. He's rampaging through the wall that is getting dedicated with Leroy Butler's statue or whatever it is. Um, so yeah, I just think they I don't know. It could be really just like I don't want to be like frustrated by when I'm seeing guys miss tackles because it's like on one hand it's Derrick Henry,
Yep.
but like I am definitely expecting just like whiffs on whiffs on whiffs.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough, I think. Was taking a look at all of the Packers games this year. They have not had a game where they've held a team under 100 yards rushing besides the Buccaneers game when Leonard Fournette had like 34 rushing yards. Otherwise, they've allowed like a significant amount more than 100 rushing yards every game.
Yeah, Riggs 26 right now.
Yeah,
And those are
like
numbers that would explain why they're 26.
yeah, like it's it's bad. So it'll be very important for the Packers to hold Derrick Henry in check. Like I'd rather lose to Tannehill and their passing offense
Oh, 100
than just to
times.
get
100 times.
run over by uh Derrick Henry all game long.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, putting I think Jair on, he'll probably play the second receiver again because he's been doing that more often, which will probably be Traylon Burks or Robert Woods, depending on how the Titans see it or how the Packers see it. And then let Darnell Savage cook in the slot again. Like they need to keep with that.
That's gonna be another thing too. Um, I feel like the Packers are just not good with guys like a Burks type guy
Right.
who lines up in the slot but doesn't necessarily do slot things. He's kind of like this gadget guy, but supersized gadget guy.
Yep.
You know, like he can do so many different things. You just hand him the ball, jet sweep, in motion, all that stuff that kind of bends your defense in a different way than you're anticipating.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's another way where it's just the ground game is going to be a different dimension that they haven't really faced this year in that sense, and mirrors what they have done at times this year to try to get their offense going.
Right.
But it's different when it's Derrick Henry and even a guy like Traylon Burks, who's a pretty sturdy dude that is going to be tough to get down too.
Yep. Absolutely. So yeah, I was like I say impressed. I was happy with Darnell Savage and how he played in the slot. So
Yeah,
just Rudy Ford deserves to play. He got two cheeses this week. You let him keep cooking. And so, yeah, we'll see how it fares out. I think it's gonna be a good game. I really do.
same.
Um,
Thursday night games have not been great this year.
no, I think this will be a better game than it should be. Plus, they're wearing the color rush, the all whites. Ooh, those look nice. Oh, what's that face for? No, you don't like those?
I don't mind them, but there's something missing to me.
Color? Is that
Yes.
why you don't like them?
I should also say I'm colorblind. So no, I'm joking. I'm joking. Joking. Um, that would be a terrible way to reveal my.
I would say.
Yeah, there's just something missing with it. I don't
Yeah,
know
they're all
why.
white. Yeah, yeah.
Just
Alas,
something.
should we jump into players to watch and score predictions?
Yes.
I believe I went first. No, you went first last week for players to watch because you said Aaron Rodgers. So I'll go this week.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, that's a good question. You know what? I'm going to Christian Watson. Don't repeat the
Ooh.
performance because that's hard to do. Let's see the same type of performance, like same type of um energy per se, same type of mindset from the Packers, and the same type of mindset he has coming off of a great week to catch the ball downfield and progress more and build off of his performance against the Cowboys.
Could I pick a non-Packers player?
Yeah, I don't say why not.
I think it's Derrick Henry.
Fair enough.
I think he's that much of a threat that everything is going to be based on how much they can limit him from gaining 200 yards.
Yeah, that'll be a tough one.
What's the single game record? I think that's on the table here.
It could be on the table. I think it's upwards of 300 or like high 200s.
I mean, I don't know. If I had a Packers answer, I'll go with the Packers answer. Let's
Adrian Peterson 296.
296.
Yeah. That was his like
that was against the
his
Packers.
no, it was against the Chargers. That was his huge game against the Chargers. They just had the anniversary a couple of days ago.
Player to watch. I would like to go Christian Watson.
You can go with Derrick Henry. You don't gotta pick a Packers one.
I'll do two answers.
Okay.
Henry obviously already gave it.
Yep.
Cobb.
Ooh, if he plays.
If he plays, I think he is going to be the biggest beneficiary. That's a big word. To if Christian Watson can be on the field for, I think he played. I think the number was 81% of the snaps on Sunday.
Yeah.
If he plays to near that number, I think Randall Cobb can really feast on like all the underneath stuff that can kind of keep things going, keep the engine running offensively.
Yep.
And yeah, again, Titans are susceptible in their pass defense based on numbers, but also based on their secondary guys that they have to turn to.
Right. Score predictions. I think this will be a tough one. I don't think I have one ready. I'm gonna punt to you to kick us off our score predictions.
I think there's gonna be a lot of punting in this game. I think this is gonna be a fast game. I don't see it very high scoring either. Let's go 21-16.
Packers or Titans? You gotta look on your face. I know what that brain is churning on.
Titans.
Wow. Alrighty.
You gotta show me. Come on. 2 in a row. Let's see 2 in a row first.
I don't know, man. You went back under their 24 like level of points scored, which wouldn't track to how they've played against the Cowboys on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man. I'm gonna go 27-24 Packers.
Oh.
Because I'm back on my bullshit. I sip the Kool-Aid way more often than I should.
That's the magic of a win, though.
That's the magic of a win, dude.
It is. 4 or 5 days ago, we're just like, they had no shot against the Cowboys. They're gonna get slaughtered. And
then look what happened.
And then now it's like, Christian Watson's the real deal. Give me 35-10. I know that was not your score prediction.
Right. No, I think we had it the opposite way. I think we had like 35. I think I said 35-10 Cowboys. But alrighty, folks, that wraps it up for us. Couple of promotions to get to. Big stuff happening this week in the Eurostep Podcast Network universe, the GSPNU. Eurostep released on Monday. Ty and Rohan talking about um, obviously the Bucks and just sort of where the team is sitting at coming into this week. They talked a lot about Jordan Wara, talked a lot about just sort of the reinforcements on the way with Chris Middleton, Pat Connaughton, hopefully Joe Ingles eventually, and just trying to get this team healthy as they continue their season. Um, Andrew Snyder and Adam McGee put out another Cruising for a Bruising podcast. I think that was Monday morning. They went through and they have started their series on grading out each of the positions or like sections of the team. Pitchers, starting pitchers, relief pitchers, infield, outfield, all that kind of stuff. So that first episode was on the starting pitchers, and you need to tune in because it was fantastic, and that's all I'll say about it. Um, Make time for this, like we said last time, with the Bear. Jordan and I went on with Adam to go do that, and then if you're listening to this, um, like a loyal, diligent listener, Wednesday morning, Wednesday night, get in the Discord so you can click on the playback link to watch. I believe it's Jordan, Rohan, Ty, and possibly Andrew go commentate the Bucks Cavs game Wednesday night on playback. Playbacks are so much fun. You get to turn down the Van Gundy brothers' voice, whichever one's commentating, and turn them down, and turn the GSPN hosts up to hear their commentary and all of the laughs and gaffs that you can possibly imagine for a 2.5 hour basketball game. They're a lot of fun. My favorite part of the network. So go to gspn.info to check out the link to get into the Discord, and that link will be in there in the playback channel. So yeah, go check it out. A lot of great fun. And we will be back with you Friday morning to talk the game. Thursday night, 7:20 on Amazon Prime. Sorry, folks, if you don't feed Jeff Bezos your $100 a year, or I think it's more than that now. But go find a stream, go watch it, and then come listen to us Friday morning. Jordan, buddy, thank you.
Thank you.